Good morning, traders. Today is March 27th. It's Friday, and here's what's happening. Well, it looks like the markets did pretty much what I was afraid it was going to do yesterday. I had marked out yesterday the bottom here on the S&P, and that's kind of where it went. I talked about where it would go on the Dow. That's where it went. I talked about where it might go with the Russell. That's kind of where it went. And Nasdaq went even lower. As I said, it was probably going to go lower. This morning, the indexes are all off about 0.5% to 0.75%. I'll take a look at those deeper later. But the real story is that there is a big slippage in Bitcoin. It's now at 66,800. It slipped about 3% overnight. Solana also slipped about 2.5%. Those are big slips. Copper fell as well, as long as but the other metals were mixed as well. So platinum, basically flat, but silver and gold are kind of holding. Gold is up slightly at 44.60 an ounce. Silver is at 68 an ounce. A little bit low. Silver might be a potential buy on the rebound now. Gold looks like it has possible continuation to go up. We'll take a look at those also a little bit closer. Oil. Oil is back at 97 a barrel. It's back up a couple dollars. Yesterday it was down as low as 90 overnight. So this is a potential reversal back up. Like I said, I thought we're going to go back up to the $100 level on oil. So it makes sense. Natural gas is up as well. It's at 301 per unit. I don't know what the unit is called, but it's at $3.01. Yesterday it was at $2.90, and I said it's a good buy. So that's what it looks like is happening. The VIX is off the charts. It's at 30. I don't remember the last time I saw the VIX at 30. That's pretty crazy. And the tick, the tick didn't start really ticking yet, so I don't really know. Let's take a look at the sectors also real quick and see what's happening there. And you can see that across the board, we've got a lot of downward trends. Now, that's not to say that there aren't some upwards. So building XLB seems to be holding fairly well and is maybe even holding flat. While XLP, consumer staples, is pretty much flat this morning. XLI, industrials, are down. I'm surprised that industrials are down, but if there's some sort of pullback based on oil, that would make sense. Utilities have basically held, just fractionally down. I said energy was up from yesterday. But we've really I think we've hit on XLE a little bit of a top. I'm not sure. It's at 60. It hit 62, and it's pulling off the top there. I'm not sure what's going to happen with XLE. It will probably continue going up, but I don't know how strongly. XLF, the financial sectors, are basically flat. The technology sectors are off about $1. It's at 131. It closed at 132 yesterday. The other sectors like healthcare, again, it's a mixed bag, and consumer staples, real estate as well is also flat. So let's take a look then. If the sectors aren't really doing a whole lot, I don't think that the market's going to be doing a whole lot. But the big story yesterday was Meta. Meta was sued and they lost $6 million lawsuit in California for child endangerment of using their platform. The problem is not the $6 million, but that it opens up the possibilities to more lawsuits. And it looks like, I had mapped this out earlier as well. It looks like if you zoom out here, let's go a bit further to the weekly. I had mapped out some angles that I saw coming up, and it really did fall back to that level of the trend. And you can see that we had here at 545 some sort of support, continuing down here all the way to 477. But this long leg here, this is what I was expecting based on this long leg. So the drop that we had from 2020 all the way to 2022, that length of a drop, we've covered now, looks like about 80% of that, right? So that I would expect to be the bottom at around 500 if it's the bottom. So somewhere between here, 550 and 500, I'm starting to buy. I don't think the story for Meta is over. I still hold Meta, and I will still try to hang on to see if I can for a little bit longer. But I'll probably have a stop loss sooner or later, and not to have to suffer the entire swing. Okay, let's go back and let's just take a look at the indexes real quickly. Let's pull up the Russell. So the Russell again. Now let's take a look at the hourly on the Russell. And we could see that on the hourly, the Russell has pulled back to this level of support of 24.85. The value area is all the way down here at 24.70. So it could continue pulling back to 24.70 very easily. It's off 20 points today. Another 20 points, that's nothing, right? On the flip side, if it does touch down here, it might even go to 24.60. If it does, there is the potential for it to reverse. We still have the channel 2 and 3 on the hourly are positive, although 1 is negative. On the 4-hour, my channel 1 is still positive. So that's still sort of promising. It means that there's still sort of potential for it to reverse. On the RSI, we're nearly oversold. So maybe. But what I would first expect is some sort of continuation down before we see a bounce back up. So I would see this continuation. You see these on the 15-minute, all three channels are pointing straight down, and they're converging somewhere here around 24.80, but that's at the top of the value area. So it might hit it 24.70 at the bottom of the value area. Let's look at the S&P. The S&P really fell down hard, straight to the bottom of where I thought it would go. It dropped past this value area, and it looks like it might continue down. We're at 64.83. So let's zoom out just a little bit. We're looking at the 15-minute. Let's look at the hourly, and I don't have a lot more detail here. It's still pointing straight down. So let's look at the 4-hour. Okay, now the 4-hour, you could see we blew right past this support level at 65.40. And we are now all the way down here at 64.80, which is in the middle of this value area. So we definitely continue to traverse downward, at least to the bottom of the value area, maybe another 30 points. That's puts us at about 64.53. So there's another little gap here between 64.53 and 64.30. But if that happens, there is the potential we just fall all the way down here to about 63.59. I see that's where the next lower support is. Now, what does that look like if we look at the Dow? Is the Dow the same picture? The Dow is not the same picture. The Dow looks like it's at the bottom of the value area. Even though the channels are pointing down, channel 1 is actually pointing up. So that's a better sign for the Dow. It does have the potential to continue down. I do see that there's this wick that goes all the way down here to the 45,500 level. We're at about 46,000 right now. And it was only last week or whatever that we were looking at 50,000. So it's kind of interesting. Let's look at the hourly to see if we have a little more detail. And you can see even on the hourly, we still have channel 3 that's up. Channel 1 and 2 are down, or 2, it looks like it's sideways. I'm hoping this is the bottom for the Dow. We're oversold on the RSI and the hourly. It does have the potential to continue down to this 45,400 level if it does not hold here. And I mean here. If it doesn't, we're gone. If it does, we reverse back up to the top of the value area. We would perhaps hit 46,800, maybe even 47,000 on some wild swing news. So let's say today we hear some great news from the president about the war. You could definitely see it swing. On the other hand, it's Friday, and people are going to want to sell off to not carry things on the weekend, and that's another potential disaster. So let's look at the Nasdaq next. Nasdaq is the worst of them all, and you can see on the hourly, we blew past this support at 23,806. So we're at 23,578 right now. I'm zooming out to the 4-hour. We landed on the Fibonacci support of 78.6. It's pointing to that Fibonacci as the bottom, but I'm not convinced. We're down 200 points, 1% on the Nasdaq. It's a potential to hit the bottom here of 23,000 flat. And I think that we have the room to go down there. If we do, I would buy the QQQs long term on the reversal. If I zoom out here on the daily, let's just see what it looks like if we have a more clear picture. And you can see there is a value area all the way to the bottom of 23,000. So that's where I think we end up going. Somewhere down here where we would have a little more support that would be continued. So for today, I'm looking for us to come down to this somewhere around 23.4 perhaps. And zoom back into the hourly, and you can see we're not far off. Okay, next, let's take a look. We've got some more stuff to look at. What else would we like to look at? Let's take a look at copper. I'm not convinced that copper is dead, so let's see what copper looks like. We'll go through the metals next. Copper this morning looks interesting. It's at 547.8, 547, and it has positive tracking on channels 2 and 3. Channel 1 is slightly negative on the hourly. Channel on the 4-hour chart, channel 1 is positive, channels 2 and 3 are negative, pointing to the bottom, which is 5.2, where we bounced off. So unless things totally collapse, which it could, and we're going to look to see what happens with the Dow Industrials, I'm hoping for copper to hold here. There is the need for copper. There's just a physical demand for it. So we're below the trend line here on the 4-hour. I don't like that. I would prefer it to be above there, but we're at the bottom of this value area. I see it traversing back up to the top. So my levels on copper would be about $5.35 to $5.30 on the bottom, and I'm looking for $5.56 to 57 cents on the top today. But I would continue holding copper just to see if we get the reversal out. I would like to see that reverse out. Let's take a look at gold. And, gold is the hedge usually. So it's surprising that with the monetary policies being all out of whack, and you would expect gold and to reflect that. But gold has an interesting relationship with bond rates and yields. And right now, it's not making gold that attractive, I suppose. I am not exactly sure why it doesn't work the way it's supposed to. That in times of trouble, people go to gold. But in times of trouble, it looks like people are taking their money out. You could see this flag, this really long flag. It's been going on for months, downward on gold. I see the bottom of gold here, possibly. We're at 44.63 right now. I see the channels 1, 2, and 3 on my 4-hour are all pointing down. That's not a good sign. On the hourly, though, you have channels 2 and 3 at least positive. 1 is negative, but it's turning. You could see it's starting to fix itself out. I would have bought down here at 43.3. I think that makes sense. at the bottom of that value area, and we're looking to sell out at 4,600 at the top of this value area. There is a gap here, so it might actually close this gap all the way up to here, but it might take a couple days to get there. I don't think it's going to happen today. It might happen next week. So we could look for perhaps a reversal here, but it does show some positivity that gold is up today. Let's take a look at silver. Silver's picture looks very similar, and I had marked out previously the bottom at around 66.67, let's say, and the top here at around 73 as a range for the day. And I think we're going to observe that the next couple days until things settle out. We are still pointing downward on the channel 1 trend, and we're below the moving average. So I don't really love that, but it's a good place to buy if you think that it's going to reverse, right? And so if we zoom out to the 4-hour just to see what it looks like, we blew past this support at 70, and we're sitting here at 68 at this support. I don't think it's a strong support. I do think the stronger support is all the way down here in the 60 range, which means we could have more than a 10% haircut more on silver, which is a possibility. As I said, channel 1, 2, and 3 are pointing down on the daily, but channel 1 is starting to turn around. On the hourly, again, channel 1 is still down, but channel 2 and 3 are up, so that is a positive sign that it might reverse out. You could see in the past it's done stuff like that, though, where it's gone sideways, a little bit of a bump up, sideways, a little bit of a bump up, traveled down, then traveled down. And then if it breaks below this level, then it continues to collapse. And that's how I think we end up at the 60 range if silver collapses. Let's take a look at platinum. Platinum has a very similar story as silver, it looks like, with a bottom at around 1800. We are currently at 1837. We're off about 1% for the day. I see directionally it's again pointing down. All 3 channels on my 1 hour, on my 4 hour, all 3 channels are also pointing down, and they're converging somewhere below here at the 1700s to the 1600 level. Platinum is used in catalytic converters and other industrial applications besides just jewelry. So when you look at platinum or gold and silver and copper, they all have slightly different applications which change the way that they're traded. Gold is more of a precious metal considered, like because it's used for jewelry. Silver is industrial applications more nowadays, as well as copper and platinum. They're traded slightly differently. Let's take a look at some of Mag 7. So Amazon pulled back $1 overnight. It's at 206. It was at 207 close yesterday. It does look like it's at the bottom or near the bottom of the value area. On the 4 hour, the channel 1 is up, so that's a good sign, and it's pointing to a 2% rise. So you could possibly make 2% today if Amazon turns around and hits like somewhere around 212. So my level on Amazon today, I would look for an entry somewhere at 202. There's an entry here. There is an entry here at 205. And then I would try to ride that up if I was playing the options for the day up to 212 somewhere. Long term, I like this as a reversal. I think this is going to come back. So, my channel 3 is still positive on the 1 hour. On the 4 hour, we had channels 2 and 3 positive. I think 1 was down. Here we have channel 1 down and channel 2 down, but they converge. Look how nicely they converge at this Fibonacci level of 205. We've been trading this as a range. So, if I just zoom out, let me zoom out to the 4 hour again. You can see this has been a range. Here's been a range. So once you sometimes trade in these ranges, they're hard to get out, and you just trade the range. Let's take a look at Tesla. Tesla's off $2 overnight. It's been in this downward trend. We're in this value area gap, and I expect it to move through here pretty quickly. hopefully it's going to bounce off of this long-term trend somewhere around 365, but I don't have faith in that. It is, although it is at the bottom of the value area, all of my trends on the 4 hour are down. They're all four, 1, 2, and 3. On the hourly, I have channel 3 is positive, and you can see it's kind of bouncing off of this long trend line, and it's at the bottom of the value area at the moment at about 370. So if we could hold here and reverse out, that would be nice, and I would love to see it go back up to the 400s in the next few days. Will it do today? I think it comes down to about 365, and let's see what happens from there. There is then levels back up here to 380 where it could possibly, stall out. But a lot of that's going to depend on the day, and I don't have strong faith that it's going to kind of hold and not fall. I just think today's a down day on that one. Microsoft also, it fell to 361 overnight, and it's continuing its fall. All three channels on the 1 hour are pointing down. 4 hour, same story. All three channels are pointing down. We're really very far off on Microsoft. It's had this meteoric fall. It was at 560 last year, and we're now at 360. You can see we're nearly at the bottom of this value area on the day, 363 being the bottom of this value area, and that's where we are. We did spike down as low as 340 in the beginning of the year, and so maybe that's where we are targeting, but at the moment, I'm going to target 360 as a bottom and then look for some sort of reversal. Let's zoom out on the week, though, and see what we're looking at. On the week, you could see the zero level of that Fibonacci would be at about 350. It would support the 38.2 Fibonacci level as well. And if I drew a line, I think we would be able to see that this is lining up pretty close to where its trend has been. It did break through here, though. So if it does, yeah, we're looking at 350 for a bottom on Microsoft before it reverses out. This would be significantly scary if it went further than that. But there's very little volume in some of these areas, and we need to see big volume supporting the price moves up. If you see low volume, it means there's not much of an appetite, and that's the scary part. So you want to look for big volume moves pushing things up, and when you start to see that the volume is fading, that's when you have to worry. Really, when Microsoft broke through here at 490, that was the sign that it was in correction territory. So right now we're just waiting for a bottom on Microsoft. We haven't seen it yet. Let's take a look at Oracle. Oracle is on the hourly a little bit flatter. It does have some sort of support here. I would say at about $140, 140. We're at 140 right now. On the 4 hour, again, we have all three channels pointing down, but they do converge at 140. On the daily, you can see we're at or near the bottom of the value area, 136.8 being the more of the bottom there, with the low of the year at 116. So we're not far from the low of the year. You could see long-term trends. We should be higher. So the daily, all three channels are down. The 4 hour, this is the weekly. The weekly, you could see we're at a near strong support, but the next major support really is at about 120 to 100 on Oracle. That's pretty scary. Let's take a look at the 4 hour. 4 hour, we have all three channels down. The 1 hour, all three channels down, pretty flat. Let's look at the 30-minute, all of them down. And that's Oracle and Microsoft, NVIDIA and Tesla. Let's take a look at Apple. Apple is up. They're busting the trend. That looks pretty cool. So they're at the nearing the top of the value area. I would like to see maybe 255 on Apple. I don't know if it's going up to the top here. Do you think it is? It's moving. It's on the 30-minute. That's great. Let's take a look at the hourly. So on the hourly, you would have wanted to buy closer to 250 and sell closer to 255. So we're approaching an area to sell on a swing trade. For a long-term trade, this could potentially continue, right? So I'm not playing Apple, but it's interesting. All three channels on the 1 hour are positive. On my 4 hour, channel 1 is positive, and it does have that bottom that it's set at 245, which aligned with the 50% Fibonacci. We're near a bottom of this value area at 250. It could traverse to the top, which was 256, 257 here. We're at 253. There's not a whole lot of room in here, but you could probably play this today if you wanted to play. And I would say, at around 252, I would try to get in, or 252.8, and then exit by 257. All right. And that's the first half hour of my morning. The market is about to open. I'm going to switch to live soon, and we'll take a look at the opening of the market live. Thanks, and have a great day. Good luck trading. Remember, like, subscribe, and comment so you keep getting my content.